I am here today with Henry Edelstein, and the reason that I'm interviewing Henry today is because so many agents are challenged in this market. Heck, so many mortgage people are challenged in this market. And I work with Henry, but I literally saw him post on social getting an award because he had his best month, I don't know, this year, but also closed over $13 million worth of real estate sales in August. And for me, I just thought instantly, how is he doing it? People want to know. Other people are really challenged with what they're doing, what they're saying mentally. So I'm so glad, Henry, that you agreed for me to pick your brain today and figure out kind of what is the secret sauce of you guys closing 13 million in 1 month. So you ready to start?
I am. Thanks for having me.
You bet. All right. So here's my first question. We hear so much about the media out there, so much about how it's not a good time to buy, how interest rates are high, home prices are high. What I would like to really understand is what specific strategies or tactics did you adopt to have such a successful closing month with over 13 million in sales between buy and sell side?
I think one of the biggest things that we've been doing is just touching our database more than ever before. I
Okay.
think one of the best things that we have done is created a book of wish lists of everything that our clients have been looking for through the years, because that's something that had been taught to me that I have now been using. And a lot of these homes, sometimes pop up randomly, and then you can say, oh my gosh, your perfect home came on the market. And I think with, the rising rates and with prices really on the rise in some areas as well, it's a difficult time to convince somebody to leave their home and really at a lower rate where they have a lot of equity and start all over again. And so one of the things that we really preach to them again is, through all the things that we hear about happening, is right now is a great time to buy. Ultimately is the story I tell everybody. And I truly believe that is, because I do think that prices are going to go up. I think we are going to see a day when rates go back down again. We might see a few more rates go up again, right, Lisa? Rates might go up again. But ultimately, I do think that right now you're going to get in at a better price than you will 2 to 3 years from now. So sharing that information, showing different statistics and things to our clients, being able to help them make those decisions made them have an easier time of purchasing. But it's also was built up of many years of collecting leads, staying in touch with people. They weren't necessarily going to buy today, but they were going to buy in the future. But it's that constant follow-up and staying in touch with people. It's no secret sauce. It's just being consistent.
Okay. So one of the things I want to make sure that people hear is you have a book of wish lists. So is it something when you're talking to a client and or a lead and you say, hey, if the perfect house came up, what would it look like? What would it feel like? And you kind of keep a journal or diary or book of that kind of property. And then when that comes up, you're like, wait a second, this was Mr. Smith's like wish list property. I got to call him.
Right right in here, I keep it all. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
that way we have that. And it's amazing when it happens. And then I have my daily call sheets too that I use, and those daily call sheets have people just to follow up by buyer, by lead source. I don't have anybody's name blacked out, so I'm just going to leave it
Yeah.
off the
Got it.
screen. But that type of system, having that in front of me, my team prints this up every day for me. Having that in front of me so I can follow that is really important to make sure you're touching those individuals.
Okay.
I think that's an important part of it.
Okay. So the other thing too, what I'm curious about is, have you done anything in this market with your outreach efforts in spite of what the market's doing to maintain your business momentum? So it sounds like what I'm hearing from you, number one, a lot of follow-up, a lot of consistency in that follow-up, banking leads for years and really never giving up on them. Is there something more that you're doing there, or is there anything different that you've done because now we're in a high price, high interest rate environment versus 2 years ago?
It's a very good question. No, I just think that we are in fact reaching out more to our clients. And so I do think that that really is a big thing, because we're asking them, who do you know that needs to buy or sell real estate today? Who can you share our name with? And make sure that when we ask them that question, that I program then, like when you think of real estate, think of Henry. So if somebody brings up the topic of real estate, make sure you think of my name and make sure to bring me up. And, I really appreciate that because that's how I grow. And I always tell all my clients up front, like, I want to do an amazing job for you. So you recommend me. So selfishly, I have a vested interest in myself to do great for you. So that way you tell me, your friends, all about me and our business.
And so when you say you're reaching out, are you're calling, you're texting, you're emailing, you're videoing, you're doing events, all the above, more for anything more focused now because of this market versus anything different?
I think I've stayed consistent since 2020. So 2020, we really started a lot of videos, sending those out to our database weekly.
Okay.
We send postcards to all of our database showing them successful stories and testimonials from past, sales of the year. Send out
Mhm.
personal letters about what's happening in my lifetime. Sending out promos, old school snail mail to listings when we just list or sell something in a neighborhood, providing the neighbors good feedback and information of what happened in the neighborhood. I
Okay.
just think all those things add value, A, for your seller, but and B, for you as an agent, because it's showing you a proven track record. So staying in touch with your client. And then, yes, we're having events like this summer. We had an ice cream social. In the fall, we had our pumpkin party. And that way we get to see people face to face. I get multiple leads at that time because people are coming up to me, talking to me about their real estate needs, what they want. So I think that's, and also being face to face with these people, it's really important.
So just a lot of different avenues that you're really staying connected with them. And what I'm hearing you say is you're staying connected with them relationally. You're writing a personal letter. You're giving them videos about what's happening in the market. You're doing and hosting fun events for them and their families. So lots of different ways to be reaching out and touching them.
Absolutely.
Got it?
I think you have to mix new school with old school.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if you just go one way or the other, I think it doesn't work.
Yep.
How about when you were closing that much in that month, that many clients, that much real estate, were there any challenges that you had to overcome or deal with simply because of doing that volume of business for you in this market?
Mm, The biggest challenge is making sure that all my clients have a good experience, right? And I think that when you deal with a lot of different people, sometimes balls can get dropped potentially. So for us, it was just very important to make sure that we had our like that we have our systems organized. We're very a system oriented team. So making sure all those processes, making sure that everybody was following what was on the checklist to get done, and really making sure everybody's going to mess up sometime. We're all human beings. There are going to be mistakes, but I would say having a process and system nailed down so you know exactly what to follow so that I want each client to have a similar experience. So if they were to talk to one another, they wouldn't say, oh my God, Henry did this for me, but Henry didn't do that for me. I don't ever want that to be one of the scenarios that my clients, talk about. So from my perspective, it's good to have checklist systems and make sure everybody gets the same experience. It doesn't matter what price point they're in. If they're a large sale, if they're a small sale, they should have the great, white glove treatment, no matter who they are.
That's interesting that you say that because that was a light bulb for me that just went off when you said that. You want clients to have the same experience because if they talk to one another, you don't want them to say, well, Henry did this for me, but not for me, because your business is very relational. I would assume that friends refer you other friends so that when you have these events or they talk about things, they probably talk about their experiences. And if someone did say, well, Henry did this, but geez, I didn't get that option, or I didn't get that closing gift, or I didn't get invited to that event, that could be, feelings hurt or whatnot. So I haven't thought about that. And that's actually a really good point that, hey, the checklist is the checklist, regardless of the price point, regardless of the situation, because we want everyone to have this level of service. Doesn't matter.
Who it
Price
is, what the
or
price point is, anything.
Interesting. Okay, good. Do you think there's any emerging trends in the market? Meaning, any game changers that you're like, this is something I absolutely want to make sure that I adopt in the fourth quarter or the first quarter of next year, because I feel like if we don't, we're going to be left behind or missing the boat.
I think it relates to your industry the most, and that's the buy downs right now. I think you can talk about that better than anybody, but I think that buyers really need to be aware today that they can buy the rate down for 3, 2, or 1. Can you do as little as 1?
Yeah, so you can do a 3-2-1. So
Yep.
3% the first year, 2%. Yep. You
Yep.
can do a 2-1, 2% the first year, 1% the second year. You can do a 1-0, so just 1% for the first year.
Yep.
That's you can also do a 1-1, which is 1% for the first year, 1% for the second year.
So
All of
I
those
think,
options apply.
yeah, and so I think that this is something that I'm talking to buyers today. It's like, get out, buy now. I'm seeing less activity on some of our listings, and I feel bad for the seller today, but if you really want to move, you're going to have to adapt. So as a seller, I think you should be offering to buy down the rate with the preferred lender. So you and I have that relationship. Together, we should be packaging that, sending that to all of our seller clients so they can offer that. It's their choice if they want to offer that or not, but I think it's a nice way to engage with a buyer who potentially is scared of an interest rate. And number two, I think a buyer can now get closing costs in addition to the pay for the buy down. They get for sure get an inspection. I mean, I would be shocked if they didn't get one today, but you never know. There's those rare opportunities where they might not. But ultimately, there is space to breathe again versus 4 months ago. So every year we see a downturn during this time. If you're a buyer and you're on the fence, now is the time to be buying, I think.
Got it. I do agree. I've been preaching that for a while. And really, I think that window of opportunity probably is now through February, because I think really by end of February, March, that people are getting ready for that spring market. And I always tell clients, everyone's lining up at the starting line for spring. Like, and you're all
So
starting at
many
the same
people.
time, but if you could get a 30-minute start so that you could get out ahead of pack and be running a little bit on your own through that marathon, it's a much better feeling, which is exactly what it's like to buy now versus waiting till spring. Because when you start at a marathon, sometimes you get stepped on, sometimes you get trampled, sometimes you get pushed. It's just not great. And that's what I'm really trying to get people to understand. But you also have to buy when you're ready and your budget says you're ready. But I also think too, one of the emerging things that I think everyone's got to understand, your industry, my industry, buyer sellers, that these interest rates, they're not going to get back to where they were. Will they come down eventually? Absolutely. But this could be the norm for a little while. This could be the norm for the next 6 months. And
It
is
really couldn't.
real estate going to stop? No,
No.
it can't. So the quicker we can get acclimated, like this is where we are and it's a great time to buy. I do believe that you believe that, because I can tell there are lots of people that I truly think do not believe that agent wise, and you can tell,
Yeah,
because
I
if you
think
don't believe it, no client will.
no, and I think today you have to be really informative with your clients. You can't be sitting on the sidelines as an agent saying, "Oh my God, I don't want to talk to my seller because I don't want to deliver bad news." Well, the reality is there's no bad news right now. It's just a slow market. So as a seller today, you have to properly set that expectation that it's going to be slow, and it is going to be slow. I mean, it could be a longer market time, and it does come down to pricing eventually. But even with price reductions, I'm seeing no activity. So that's why I like to buy down, number one. Number two, you got to show them statistics. You got to go into showing time. You got to pull showing statistics for what's happening in the neighborhoods and the areas. So if you're an agent that's linked, that's language you should understand, how to go into showing time, pull target market analysis, and really show your sellers, hey, this is where all the showings are happening in these price ranges. This was the showing count for the last week. It's a great tool to really show them, like, hey, we pulled X amount from so long ago to here, show them different perspectives of maybe a busier market to today in terms of showing count. I also think you have to use, InfoSparks, which is a great tool to be able to pull data in different areas and show them, what's the averages of different, showings per listing sold, number of pendings for the month, new listings put on, price, increases or decreases in that neighborhood. I just think data, even if they're not a data driven person, if they can actually see that in front of them, they're going to appreciate that. So every Monday, we're sending that to all of our seller clients, making sure that they're getting as much data as possible. So that way they understand what's happening in the market. And then I always follow up with a call on Tuesday to talk to them.
Oh, interesting. And those are people that have their houses listed on the market right now as sellers?
Yes.
Interesting. Very cool. All right, last question, so we can kind of keep this short and sweet and wrap it up. Is there anything in particular that when you get feedback from clients, you survey your clients, that they really have appreciated working with you in this kind of market versus the flip side of the 2021 market where it was such a feeding frenzy and so crazy and people were offering crazy things. You know, I think the mentality of clients and buyers and sellers are different. So is there any one thing that you've really gotten feedback like, Henry, thank you for doing this, or thank you for doing that, or this is what made us choose you versus others?
I think of the amount of resources that I have to help them get through the process has been a big game changer for me for my entire career. And that even, before 2020 and 2021, that's definitely helped my clients be really successful in the sales of their homes. And then I think from buyers, just having the expertise and knowledge to walk them through these properties, understanding the contracts, understanding the buy downs, understanding different mortgage tricks, making sure that they're connected with the right professionals. I think I've got many people saying to me, thank you for connecting me with Lisa. She really made this an easier process than I ever imagined. I had somebody use a big bank today and they ended up paying the price because it was a terrible experience. And I feel terrible for them, but that is just the reality of not going with somebody local. I think that having you as a local connection here has been a big advantage for my buyers because a lot of agents know who you are. So that's a huge advantage that people have mentioned to me. Having a team backing me up to help me when I'm not available, they love that. And these are all aspects that, I think even if you're a solo agent, if there's somebody there that can help and step in when you're not available, find it, pay him a small fees, pay him an hourly wage, whatever it can be to make you look great and shine. The most important part today is taking care of that client. And I think the information we provide, right? The constant communication, constant follow-up, being consistent to me is what really people have enjoyed the most. They know what they're going to get and I set the expectation up front and they can benefit from that.
Love it. Is there any other advice or piece of info that you could give as agents watch this who are maybe, I don't want to say struggling, but maybe not doing the business that you're doing, or looking for the next shiny object of what they need to do to improve their business or make their business better? Is there any advice that you would give them?
I would say don't be afraid to get out there and start picking up the phone, calling past clients, asking for referrals. Nobody's going to bite you for asking for a referral. Work your current clients, ask them for referrals. This is the time to not be bashful. Tell people that you're in real estate. Make videos, send them to your past clients. Like, even if you have a small past client list, and I often hear like, well, I don't want to keep calling that same person all the time. Then don't. Do what's comfortable for you. But when you think of them, when you think of something, there's no reason you can't send them a text just thinking of you. You don't have to necessarily always pick up the phone. I think that's a misconception. I think sending a text message to somebody who likes text messages is a sufficient way of communicating with that individual. I think if they like email and you send them an email, that's okay too. You have to choose what their preferred method of communication is. But I think just staying in touch is the most important, whatever way that might be.
Got it. Authentically staying in touch.
Even Instagram, if you have to send them an Instagram message, if that's how they like it, like, just do it.
Got it. Excellent. Well, Henry, thank you. I know that I kind of blindsided it one morning and said, hey, we got to do this, because I just think it's valuable for people to hear. You had an amazing month. You closed all this real estate when so many are falling prey to the headlines and that kind of stuff, and are, a little bit worried and a little bit concerned. And what are the activities and the things that you're doing to keep that momentum going, regardless of what the market does? Is there anything else that you want to share? Or otherwise, how can people find you? Like, what's the best way if they want to connect with you, if they have questions on selling or buying, or even real estate questions like, hey, how are you doing this or that? What's the best way for them to reach out to you?
I was going to say, so if anybody has any questions, I'm always happy to talk to people. And I think we're here for each other. It's a small sandbox and we should all play nice in it. In terms of how to get in touch with me, just, email is a great form. I don't love texting. Pick up the phone, call me. We're very easy to find. You can Google us very easily. But I absolutely think that it's a great opportunity to get in touch, make great new connections, and happy to help anybody that I can.
Awesome. Well, again, Henry, thank you so much for your time. I think this was incredibly valuable. Even me listening to it, even though I know you very well and we work together all the time, it's really helpful for me to hear the little nuances that you're doing and the consistency that you're doing, because I think consistency will win over so many other things. So thank you for spending your time with us and sharing all your stuff.
My pleasure. Thanks.
All right. See ya.
Bye.